In July of 2029, Debbie, Carrie and their son Richard moved from the town Debbie had grown up in to Dallas to live with Richard's two fathers, Michael Jefferson and Charles McKenzie, and Charles' niece Annika.
Thank you for inviting us to live here in Dallas with you. I served as a cop in my town for over a year, but most of that time was boring. About all I did was ride around the town in my police car and write traffic tickets. The only time I felt useful was when the town was hit by that disaster and later when our UU church was bombed.
Well, I think you will see plenty of action here in Dallas. In a big city like this, violent crime is a problem, including hate crimes. That's why I decided to found my own private investigative agency, Queer Avengers. And after hearing from Debbie about you and how you beat the crap out of Ted Wilson, despite him being a cop at the time as well as being twice your size, I decided you would be a great partner for me. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. So do we have any cases to deal with now?
Yes! I will be interviewing a gay teen who was beaten up yesterday. Let's go see him now. So, Henry, tell us what happened to you. I came out as gay about 6 months ago. My best friend since I was in first grade was Simon. But Simon has a big brother named Pete. Pete always disliked me, and after learning I was gay, he accused me of trying to recruit Simon in the gay lifestyle. He then got in my face and told me to stay away from Simon. I told him that my dealings with Simon were none of Pete's business, and he said, he's my brother, so it is my business. And before I could even explain to Pete that I knew Simon wasn't gay and that I had no romantic interest in him anyway, Pete did this to me with a baseball bat.
Wow. I remember when I myself was attacked with a baseball bat when I was your age.
So you got bashed for being lesbian?
No, but violence is violence and hate is hate. We need to put a stop to this abuse.
Now that we have Simon's and Pete's address, we will confront them about what happened.
You think Pete will talk to us?
Oh, trust me, we won't be doing much talking.
Who are you?
I am Charles of the Queer Avengers and my partner is Carrie. We just spoke with Henry about what Pete did to him.
Henry is out at the hospital already? Good. I want to see him and apologize for what Pete did.
Henry deserves more than an apology. Where is your brother now?
He's working at the local grocery store, but he gets off work in about an hour. I will give you the location. And good luck. Pete bullies me too. The sooner his ass gets kicked, the better.
Well, this is going to be fun.
Simon said Pete gets off at about this time.
I think that's him coming out now.
Pete, yesterday you beat up a gay teen, Henry, and put him in hospital. And now you will pay for that. And together, Charles and Carrie overpower Pete and humiliate him in public. Warning, contains references to violence and death.
Thanks for inviting us. This is indeed a welcome change from being banned from attending family events after I married Rich.
Well, that was mainly our mother's doing. I never agreed with you being banished, and so after she died I began to feel like we needed you restored as one of us. Ironically, learning you were cast out only made many of my kids, nieces and nephews curious about you. And some of them concluded that our mother was being unloving and hardly a good Christian.
Who could that be? I will take this outside. Debbie, what's wrong? Why did you want to talk to me so suddenly? You look terrified. I just got a call from the Dallas Police Department. I spoke with a homicide detective. Michael and Charles are both dead. Oh, no. What happened? A guy with an assault rifle broke into their house and shot both of them. Annika, Charles' niece, grabbed Richard and kept him in her bedroom, and that's where they were found by the cops later, after she called 911 on a cell phone to ask for help. The shooter was also dead, of a self-inflicted gunshot to the head. Do they know who the killer was? He was identified as Pete Jensen. The police later found he had also killed his brother Simon before he went to Charles and Michael's house. Oh my God. Charles and I went to confront Pete after he beat up a gay teen named Henry, and even Pete's brother Simon encouraged us to go after him. We thought beating Pete up in public would stop his gay bashing. Instead, he does this? I feel like a fucking failure now. You did nothing wrong, Carrie. This is all the result of a society that tolerates toxic masculinity, that allows for gay bashing and celebrates gun ownership over the right of others to live in peace. But Charles was himself a gun owner. He kept a loaded pistol in his bedroom. But I guess even that wasn't enough. A pistol isn't a match for a bigger gun that can spit out a dozen bullets in one shooting. And considering that Pete was working at a grocery store, how could he have gotten such a weapon? I'd think it would cost at least $100,000. So, are we going to tell Mother Sandy about this? And ruin her experience at the family reunion? Hell no. I'm only telling you so we can deal with this mess right away upon our return to Dallas.
What are you doing here? You were not invited to our event, and haven't you caused enough trouble already?
You banned me, your own daughter, from the reunion, but you invite Aunt Sandy and Cousin Debbie. Thanks for the insult. You should have seen when Aunt Sandy broke Diana Callie's nose in public.
Yes, she told me about that. You are always doing the dumbest things and associating with the wrong crowd. That's why you were cast out. And you deserved it. Sandy didn't.
So this is the thanks I get after I give you 4 grandchildren. Plus 1 more on the way.
Enough.
I just saw my mother outside with grandfather. He'd better not let her in. I'm still bitter about seeing her and Diana Callie at your ex-husband's wedding.
I'm sure he can handle her. Oh, here comes your grandmother, Leslie. Sandy, Arlene. Welcome. You have become quite a celebrity among us, haven't you? You becoming mayor of your town, and then all those videos on YouTube of your family and friends. It's all about fighting for the rights and dignity of us as people. I understand. I think the disastrous experience we had with Diana Callie finally woke us up to how shallow our values were. It's not enough to look good. We have to be good. I'm not saying you are right to be an atheist, but most of us certainly see now that judging you and your children for being true to yourselves is pointless. Perhaps, but it seems a lot of our relatives still avoid me. That's their choice. You are here and that's what matters. You are one of us.
With the Green family reunion now over, Sandy, Debbie, Carrie, and Arlene now return to Dallas.
Debbie, what's wrong? You have seemed awfully quiet since yesterday. I guess I can tell you now that the event is over. I got a call from the Dallas Police Department. Michael and Charles, Richard's 2 fathers, were gunned down this past weekend. They were both killed for being gay, and the police later found Richard and Annika hidden away. Annika saved our son. Oh my God. Come here. It looks like Carrie, Richard and I may be returning to the town once more. Will you take us back? Of course. You and Carrie never had to leave, though I do understand that you wanted to spread your wings and be independent. But I am your mother and Richard is my grandson. I am always glad to help you. Speaking of which, I spent more than an hour on the phone venting to my mother Lucy last night. It seems all this crap keeps happening to us. First, Debbie's father is gunned down in a mass shooting, along with his fiancée and her 5 kids. Now we have lost both of Richard's gay fathers. There is so much hate in the world, so much violence, so much pain. And we can't seem to stop it.
I know. It's always been that way for as long as people have existed. All we can do is help the victims of violence and hate heal from their pain. Speaking of which, Vicky has befriended a blind girl at her church, Hermine. She is actually sleeping over with us now. She and Vicky have opened up to each other about their past abusers. The four of us had a long talk about those things. I actually think Vicky's dealing with Hermine is making things better for both of them. Vicky says she is no longer haunted by the memories of what her birth mother did to her. Vicky is not disabled like Hermine, and they are learning from each other.
I sometimes wonder what my life would have been like if I had never met Debbie. She completes me like no one else ever could. When one of us suffers, we support each other.
I see how beautiful you are together, and that makes me realize that if there is a God, He would never reject your love. And if there is no God, your love more than makes up for His absence. And that is why I admire you all.
So what will happen to Annika? She is Charles' niece, right? Charles actually wrote a will and testament shortly after he and Michael got custody of her. According to it, as Annika's aunts, Carrie and I will have custody of Annika if something happens to both Charles and Michael. Charles told me that being a target of a hate crime, even murder, is always something he knew might happen to him. It seems like a strange coincidence that the killer who shot Charles and Michael attacked them while Carrie and I were gone. Otherwise, all four of us might have been killed. And so Richard would now be an orphan.
Several hours later, Debbie and Carrie arrive at the police station in Dallas to reunite with their son.
Richard and Annika, Mother Carrie and I are here.
Mama Debbie, Mama Carrie, take us home.
First my mama dies, now Uncles Charles and Michael. What will happen to me now?
Annika, I promise, we will do our best to keep you safe. Come with us, we will give you a new home.
One evening in Dallas of 2061, Debbie and Carrie are having a discussion about time travel.
You want us to go back in time and change our own history? How?
You remember when we were attending the Green family reunion in Oklahoma City in 2029? While we were gone, Pete Jensen broke into our home that we shared with Richard's two gay fathers, Charles McKenzie and Michael Jefferson, and Jensen killed them both. Both our son and Charles' niece Annika were traumatized by that event because they witnessed it happening and barely avoided being killed themselves. That horrible event affected all of us. I just think all our lives would be better if those murders had been prevented.
All right, let's ask James for permission to take the USS Sandy on this mission.
Debbie, are you sure about this? Saving that gay couple would generate an alternate timeline, and there is no guarantee that events in the new timeline would really be better than the one we are in now. And would our own existence be wiped out? Wouldn't you and Carrie be committing suicide?
I don't think so. I think this current timeline would still exist and we would live in it, but in the new timeline there would be new versions of me, Carrie and the rest of you. I am curious as to what would happen if Charles McKenzie and Michael Jefferson live on to help me and Carrie raise Richard and Annika.
All right. Take the ship and do what you think is right.
I read the Dallas police report on the mass shooting that killed Charles and Michael. According to it, the shootings happened at 3:30 p.m. on October 13, 2029. So we need to be at the scene before Pete Jensen shows up.
Understood. Robot, are you ready?
The coordinates for the time jump are set and the time device is fully charged. Engaging.
Wah. So what do you want for dinner?
How about some chicken wings and mashed potatoes?
We can. I'll get that. You start dinner. Carrie and Debbie, what are you doing here? We thought you were in Oklahoma City attending the Green family reunion. And why do you two somehow look a lot older?
It's a long and painful story. Let us in so we can explain everything.
So you are telling us that in a few minutes Pete Jensen is coming here to kill us?
That's right. He has already gunned down his brother, so you two are his next targets. And your deaths affected so many other people, at least one of you were connected to. Debbie and I concluded that things would be better had you not died so violently and prematurely. So we traveled back in time to save you.
It must be Pete. It's past 3 p.m.
We can simply not answer the door. Then,
Open this door. I know you two faggots are in there. Open now.
If you don't answer the door, he will try to break in anyway. So I will deal with him instead.
Carrie then pulls out the gun concealed in her purse and goes to answer the door. And a moment later,
Not this time, asshole.
what? And so Pete is killed before he can murder Charles and Michael. Michael and they will call the police and tell them of Pete trying to kill us. And they will tell them I shot him. I'm sure they will believe it, since Pete was armed with a rifle and had already killed his brother. Thank you for saving us. I just checked on Richard and Annika. They are both still asleep in their bedrooms. It seems they heard nothing.
Either Pete didn't know they were there, or he didn't want to kill them because they were children. But murdering anyone is evil.
Debbie and I will return to our native time and see if anything has changed. I have changed. My own memories have been altered.
Mine too. When we changed our history, we also changed ourselves. And I am so much happier as a result.
So you know already you did the right thing. Everything for you will be better now. And with that, Debbie and Carrie return to the year 2061 to enjoy life in the new timeline they created. Because of the 2061 versions of Debbie and Carrie intervening in the course of their own history, Michael Jefferson and Charles Mackenzie were not killed in 2029. This had many positive results, especially for Charles' niece Annika.
Thank you for letting me stay here with you and Michael, Uncle Charles.
No problem. I was so disappointed in that guy cheating on you and then his father firing you for divorcing his son. You deserved better.
Well, at least Aunt Debbie and her Aphrodite agency threw me a lifeline by offering me a modeling job. So I am quite happy now.
But not all changes to the timeline were positive. The Belmont triplets were never adopted by Debbie, Carrie, James, Punny, Vicky and Paul. Instead, they spent years in foster care before their birth mother Deborah got married, and then she and her new husband persuaded a court to award them custody of the triplets. Also, Debbie and Carrie never left Dallas to return to the town, so Debbie never became a member of the town's government. She and Carrie never founded the America for All News Network, and Carrie never became a police chief.
Yes. Don't let that asshole argue with you. He is a criminal, not a patriot.
Are they still broadcasting the trials of those surviving faithful remnant leaders?
Yes, and now it is Fred Owen's turn to be judged. Look at Mother Sandy take him on. Mr. Owen, how could you possibly think it was justified to try to overthrow a democratic government? Did you really think replacing it with fascism was anything remotely resembling American values?
What would you know about American values, atheist? You and others on the far left who were trying to make the rest of this country like you, and we weren't going to stand for that.
Spare me that phony rhetoric, Fred Owen. This is a public courtroom, not one of your ideological echo chambers. People like you fought to maintain slavery and white supremacy during the American Civil War, and that was just as evil as what you did. The Nazis fought to bring down democracy in Germany in the 1930s, and that led to World War II. Millions of people died because of those events. And millions more might have died because of you and your faithful remnants starting another civil war. Being an atheist, or a leftist, doesn't make one a mass murderer. When I was mayor of my town, I only killed one person. Because she was trying to kill me. The simple truth is that because of your bigotry, you can't live in a society in which people you despise for whatever reason are legally your equals. So you resorted to violence to attack those people.
You remember me telling you about Pete Jensen trying to kill me and Michael several years ago?
Of course.
It just occurred to me that if the faithful remnant had won the Battle of Austin, they later might have rounded up you, me, Debbie and Michael and had all of us exterminated for being LGBT. Pete Jensen was one homophobic terrorist. The faithful remnant was made up of thousands of people like him.
Right. And you said my and Debbie's older selves warned you of the threat posed by Pete Jensen. Clearly, Your deaths badly affected me and Debbie in the other timeline, and they wanted to change things to make their lives better. Think about how horrible the Holocaust was. 6 million Jews were exterminated in Europe. And every one of them was a human being like you and Michael.
And over 70 million total died in World War II. All because of the territorial ambitions of Germany and Japan. War sucks. Bigotry sucks. I can only hope that in the future we can change ourselves so we never have to worry about bigotry, greed and stupidity like we and our ancestors have had to deal with.
Well, as long as we are alive, we can make a difference.
Yeah, just like Sandy Smith is doing, helping to prosecute those deluded terrorists.